What if the universe we see, with all its apparent randomness, is actually governed by a precise, beautiful, and hidden order? What if the key to unlocking this cosmic code has been known by initiates for centuries, yet remains largely hidden from the modern world? Sacred geometry whispers of such a possibility, a tantalizing glimpse into the underlying mathematical principles that shape our reality. For millennia, thinkers like Pythagoras, Plato, and Kepler have fervently believed that mathematics and geometry weren't just abstract tools, but the very language of the universe, the foundation upon which all of creation is built. These ancient minds saw in geometric forms the echoes of a deeper harmony, a cosmic symphony expressed in shapes and proportions. Of course, many dismiss such notions as mere pseudo-science, fanciful musings of mystics and dreamers. But what if modern science, with its discoveries in quantum physics and fractal geometry, is now beginning to echo the wisdom of the ancients, revealing a universe far more interconnected and geometrically structured than we ever imagined? Most of us are unaware of the pervasive influence of sacred geometry, blind to the geometric patterns that surround us in nature, art, and architecture. This ignorance, however, comes at a cost. We miss out on a deeper understanding of reality, a connection to the underlying harmony of the cosmos, and the potential to unlock hidden dimensions of our own consciousness. Imagine a world where we could consciously harness the power of geometric forms to manifest our desires, create more harmonious environments, and access higher states of awareness. What if the blueprints of creation were not just theoretical concepts, but practical tools for personal and collective transformation? The answer, we propose, lies within sacred geometry, the fundamental blueprint of creation. Understanding these principles allows us to connect with the universe on a deeper level, unlocking hidden potential within ourselves and the world around us. This understanding is not merely theoretical. It's profoundly practical, offering applications in diverse aspects of life, from meditation and healing to design and architecture. By grasping the language of geometric forms, we gain the power to reshape our lives in incredible ways, aligning ourselves with the natural harmony of the cosmos. So how do we unlock this ancient wisdom and apply it to our modern lives? In this video, we'll embark on a journey to explore the historical roots of sacred geometry, uncover its core concepts like the Fibonacci sequence, the golden ratio, and the Platonic solids, and then examine its practical applications in various fields. By the end of our exploration, you'll gain a deeper understanding of sacred geometry and its transformative potential. So with these amazing prospects before us, let's dive in and explore the heart of this sacred science. So, what exactly is sacred geometry? Is it simply an aesthetic preference for certain shapes, or is there something far more profound at play? Sacred geometry is more than just the study of shapes and forms. It is a philosophical language, a lens through which we can perceive the underlying order and interconnectedness of the universe. Unlike standard geometry, which focuses on measurable properties and practical applications, sacred geometry delves into the symbolic and energetic significance of shapes, exploring how they reflect fundamental principles of creation. While your high school geometry class may have focused on calculating the area of a triangle, sacred geometry seeks to understand the deeper meaning embedded within that triangle, its relationship to other forms, and its resonance with the cosmos. This pursuit isn't new. Echoes of sacred geometry are found in ancient cultures around the world, from the pyramids of Egypt to the temples of Greece and the mandalas of Tibet, hinting at a universal understanding of its principles. For much of modern history, however, sacred geometry has been relegated to the fringes of pseudoscience, dismissed by mainstream science as mere fanciful speculation. Euclidean geometry, with its emphasis on empirical observation and mathematical proof, seemed sufficient for explaining the physical world, thus diminishing the perceived value of sacred geometry's more symbolic interpretations. The rise of materialism and reductionism further contributed to this skepticism, leading to a worldview that prioritized the measurable and quantifiable over the symbolic and spiritual. After all, how could something as seemingly abstract as a geometric shape hold any real power or significance? Yet, perhaps we have been too quick to dismiss what our ancestors intuitively understood. But let's consider this. What if the universe itself is speaking to us through these geometric forms? What if they are not arbitrary, but reflect fundamental principles of creation? Sacred geometry posits that geometric forms are not merely random occurrences, but rather reflect the underlying structure of reality, the blueprints upon which the universe is built. This philosophical perspective provides insight into the nature of reality and can be applied to the patterns found in nature, from the spiraling petals of a sunflower to the hexagonal structure of a honeycomb. These patterns, far from being random, exhibit precise mathematical relationships and proportions, suggesting a deeper order at play. But to truly appreciate this order, we must first understand its historical roots. Who were the key figures who first unlocked this geometric code? Let's begin with Pythagoras, the ancient Greek mathematician and philosopher, whose school of thought laid the foundation for much of Western esoteric tradition. Pythagoras and his followers believed that numbers were not merely abstract symbols, but the very basis of all reality, the underlying code that governed the cosmos. They discovered the relationship between musical harmonies and mathematical ratios, revealing a profound connection between sound, number, and geometry. This discovery led them to the concept of the music of the spheres, the idea that the planets themselves create a celestial harmony as they move through space, a harmony governed by mathematical proportions. Central to their teachings was the tetractys, a sacred symbol consisting of 10 points arranged in a triangular formation, representing the fundamental principles of the universe. But Pythagoras wasn't alone in his reverence for geometry. What about Plato? What role did he play in shaping our understanding of sacred geometry? Plato, the renowned Greek philosopher and student of Socrates, further emphasized the importance of geometry in understanding the nature of reality. He proposed the theory of forms, perfect, eternal blueprints that exist in a higher realm and serve as the archetypes for the physical world. These forms, according to Plato, are geometric in nature, representing the perfect, unchanging essence of things. Of particular significance are the Platonic solids, the tetrahedron, cube, octahedron, icosahedron, and dodecahedron. Plato associated these solids with the elements fire, earth, air, water, and ether, believing them to be the fundamental building blocks of the cosmos. In his dialogue, Timaeus, Plato describes the creation of the cosmos using geometric principles, suggesting that the universe itself is a product of divine geometric design. But the influence of sacred geometry wasn't limited to philosophy. How did these ideas translate into practical applications? Let's consider Vitruvius, the Roman architect and engineer, whose writings had a profound impact on the Renaissance. Vitruvius emphasized the importance of proportion, symmetry, and harmony in architecture, believing that buildings should reflect the geometric perfection of the human form. His famous Vitruvian Man, a depiction of a nude male figure inscribed in a circle and a square, exemplifies this belief, illustrating the geometric proportions of the human body. Vitruvius advocated for the use of geometric ratios in the design of temples and other sacred buildings, believing that these proportions would create a sense of harmony and balance, connecting the human realm with the divine. But the story doesn't end there. What about the scientific revolution? Did sacred geometry play a role in the discoveries of early scientists? Indeed, even Kepler, the 17th century astronomer, sought to find geometric harmony in the heavens. Kepler discovered that the planets move in elliptical orbits rather than perfect circles, and attempted to explain the spacing of planetary orbits using the Platonic solids. While his specific model proved to be inaccurate, his quest to find mathematical and geometric relationships in the cosmos reflects a persistent belief that the universe is governed by a hidden order. These early scientists and mathematicians, though working within different frameworks, saw a spiritual dimension to mathematics and geometry, a belief that has largely been lost in our modern, secular world. Now, with this historical context in mind, let us turn to the core geometric concepts that underpin this sacred science. What are these fundamental concepts? Let's begin with the Fibonacci sequence and the golden ratio, two intimately related mathematical principles that appear throughout nature and art. The Fibonacci sequence is a series of numbers in which each number is the sum of the two preceding ones, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, and so on. The golden ratio, approximately 1. 618 is derived from the Fibonacci sequence and is found by dividing any number in the sequence by its preceding number. As the sequence progresses, this ratio approaches the golden ratio. These two concepts are not merely mathematical curiosities. They are fundamental patterns that appear throughout the natural world, from the spiraling arrangement of seeds in a sunflower to the logarithmic spiral of a seashell and even the grand spiral arms of galaxies. What is more, aesthetically pleasing design elements apply this sequence, whether consciously or unconsciously. But how does the golden ratio relate to beauty? Consider the human face. Features that adhere closely to the golden ratio, such as the ratio of the width of the face to the length, or the placement of the eyes and mouth, are often perceived as more attractive. Artists and architects have long recognized the power of the golden ratio, using it to create harmonious and balanced compositions in paintings, sculptures, and buildings. The Parthenon in Athens, for example, is said to incorporate the golden ratio in its proportions, contributing to its enduring aesthetic appeal. The Fibonacci sequence and the golden ratio, therefore, are not just abstract mathematical concepts, but tangible expressions of the underlying order and harmony of the universe. And then there are the Platonic solids, the fundamental geometric forms that Plato associated with the elements. These are the tetrahedron fire, cube earth, octahedron air, icosahedron water, and dodecahedron ether spirit. These 5 solids are unique in that they are the only 5 regular polyhedra that can be constructed from congruent regular polygons, with the same number of faces meeting at each vertex. This regularity and symmetry led Plato to believe that they were the building blocks of the cosmos, each representing a different aspect of reality. And let's not forget that these shapes relate to unit shapes in the simulation hypothesis. What if these Platonic solids are not just symbolic representations, but actually reflect the underlying structure of space-time itself? But what about the vesica piscis? What secrets does this seemingly simple shape hold? The vesica piscis is formed by the intersection of 2 circles with the same radius, where the center of each circle lies on the circumference of the other. This seemingly simple shape holds profound symbolic meaning, representing the womb of creation, the union of opposites, and the birth of new forms. It symbolizes the intersection of 2 realms, the merging of spirit and matter, the reconciliation of duality. In Christian symbolism, the vesica piscis is often used to represent Christ, as it forms the shape of a fish, an early Christian symbol. But its significance extends far beyond religious symbolism. And then there is the flower of life and Metatron's cube. What can these patterns reveal to us? The flower of life is a geometric pattern composed of multiple evenly spaced, overlapping circles arranged in a flower-like pattern. This pattern is found in ancient cultures around the world, from Egypt to China, suggesting a universal recognition of its significance. Within the flower of life lies Metatron's cube, a geometric figure derived from the flower of life, containing all the Platonic solids. Metatron's cube is seen as a map of creation, a representation of the archangel Metatron, who is believed to be the scribe of God. It symbolizes the interconnectedness of all things, the unity of the cosmos, and the divine blueprint upon which reality is built. What secrets lie hidden within these complex geometric patterns? As we've seen, sacred geometry offers a framework for understanding the universe, not as a collection of random events, but as an interconnected web of geometric forms, mathematical relationships, and symbolic meanings. But we're just scratching the surface of what these principles can unlock. Now that we've explored the historical roots and core concepts of sacred geometry, let us now turn to its practical applications, exploring how we can consciously harness the power of geometric forms to manifest our desires, create more harmonious environments, and access higher states of awareness, and what implications this all has for the future of our spiritual evolution. So how do these principles of sacred geometry translate into the tangible world of art and architecture? Is it merely a matter of aesthetic preference, or is there a deeper intention at play? Throughout history, artists and architects haven't just stumbled upon pleasing proportions. They've deliberately employed geometric principles to create harmony and resonance in their work. This intentionality goes beyond surface-level aesthetics, aiming to create spaces and images that align with the fundamental principles governing the universe. The question then becomes, can we learn to spot this sacred geometry in the masterpieces that surround us? Let's begin by considering the golden ratio and its pervasive influence on Renaissance art. Perhaps no painting exemplifies this better than Leonardo da Vinci's Mona Lisa. How exactly is the golden ratio woven into this iconic image? The golden rectangle, a rectangle whose sides are in the golden ratio, approximately 1/618, can be found repeated throughout the composition. Da Vinci, whether consciously or intuitively, utilized this ratio to guide the placement of key features, creating a sense of balance and visual harmony. The dimensions of the painting itself conform to the golden rectangle, and further analysis reveals that the placement of Mona Lisa's eyes, the curve of her smile, and the proportions of her face all align with the golden ratio. The result is an image that resonates with a deep sense of order and beauty, a testament to the power of geometric principles. But the influence of sacred geometry stretches beyond the canvas and into the very structures we inhabit. What about architecture? How did the ancients use sacred geometry to create awe-inspiring spaces? The Parthenon in Athens, a temple dedicated to the goddess Athena, stands as a prime example of classical architecture imbued with geometric precision. The golden ratio, along with other geometric ratios, is meticulously incorporated into its design, influencing the proportions of its facade, the spacing of its columns, and the overall dimensions of the structure. The rectangles, triangles, and other geometric shapes that comprise the Parthenon create a sense of balance and harmony, evoking a feeling of stability and permanence. But here's what most people miss. The intention behind these proportions wasn't just about creating a visually appealing building. It was about aligning the structure with the cosmic order, creating a space that resonated with the divine. Consider also the intricate geometric patterns found in Islamic art. Unlike representational art, which depicts recognizable objects and figures, Islamic art often employs abstract geometric shapes to represent the infinite and the divine. How are these patterns created, and what do they signify? These patterns are typically constructed using repeating geometric motifs, such as stars, polygons, and tessellations, arranged in complex and symmetrical designs. Each shape carries symbolic meaning, often drawn from Islamic spiritual texts. For example, the eight-pointed star, a common motif in Islamic art, represents paradise, while the circle symbolizes unity and the divine essence. These geometric patterns serve not only as decorative elements, but also as visual metaphors for the underlying order and harmony of the universe, inviting contemplation and spiritual reflection. Thus, from the Renaissance masterpieces to the ancient temples of Greece and the abstract art of the Islamic world, we see a consistent thread: the intentional use of geometric principles to create harmony, resonance, and a connection to universal principles. These weren't arbitrary design choices, but deliberate efforts to align with the underlying order of the cosmos. But are these principles limited to art and architecture? Can they also be found in the realm of spiritual practices? And indeed, let's now consider how sacred geometry manifests in spiritual practices, offering pathways to inner exploration and enlightenment. Are these geometric diagrams simply decorative, or do they hold deeper symbolic meaning? In Buddhist and Hindu traditions, mandalas serve as geometric representations of the cosmos and the path to enlightenment. These intricate diagrams are filled with symbolic shapes, colors, and patterns, each carrying a specific meaning. For example, the circle often represents wholeness and unity, while the square symbolizes the material world. Mandalas are used as tools for meditation and visualization, helping practitioners to focus their minds and access deeper states of consciousness. But the mandala is not the only symbolic map of spiritual growth. What about the Tree of Life in Kabbalah? What secrets does this geometric diagram hold? The Tree of Life is a central symbol in Kabbalah, a mystical tradition within Judaism. It is a geometric diagram consisting of 10 sephirot, or emanations of God, connected by 22 paths. Each sephira represents a different aspect of the divine and a different stage in the process of creation. The Tree of Life serves as a map of the cosmos, a map of the human soul, and a guide for spiritual growth, offering a framework for understanding the relationship between God, humanity, and the universe. But the Tree of Life is not unique in its aspiration to map the cosmos. Consider, too, the geometric symbolism found in Hermeticism and its connection to alchemy. How does geometry play a role in the Hermetic worldview? Hermeticism, an ancient spiritual and philosophical tradition, views geometry as a key to understanding the universe. Hermetic practitioners believe that the universe is governed by mathematical laws and geometric principles, and that by understanding these principles, we can gain insight into the nature of reality. This Hermetic worldview greatly influenced alchemy, the ancient art of transformation, which uses symbolic language and geometric patterns to represent the processes of transmutation and spiritual evolution. Specific geometric shapes, such as the triangle, the square, and the circle, act as metaphors for different stages of the alchemical process, representing the transformation of matter and the purification of the soul. Therefore, whether we examine mandalas in Buddhism, the Tree of Life in Kabbalah, or the geometric symbolism of Hermeticism, we find a common thread: geometric patterns serving as symbolic representations of universal principles and tools for spiritual growth and understanding. These traditions see geometry as a key to unlocking deeper levels of consciousness and connecting with the divine. But here's a question: if these geometric principles are so fundamental to the universe, can we consciously apply them to shape our own reality? And this brings us to the potential for consciously using sacred geometry to manifest our desires and create a more harmonious reality. Is this just wishful thinking, or is there a scientific basis for this claim? By understanding the underlying principles of creation, we can consciously align ourselves with those principles to shape our reality. This isn't about magic in the traditional sense, but rather about conscious creation, a natural extension of the principles we've already discussed. By intentionally focusing our thoughts and intentions on specific geometric patterns, we can harness the power of these patterns to manifest our desires. Could this be connected to the law of attraction and the power of intention? Indeed, consider the use of geometric shapes in affirmations and visualizations. By visualizing geometric patterns associated with specific intentions, such as a flower of life for abundance or a Metatron's cube for protection, we can amplify those intentions and attract them into our lives. The key lies in the intention, focus, and belief that we bring to the manifestation process. Now here's the shocking truth. The ancients knew that the universe responds to intention, and that geometric forms act as powerful amplifiers of that intention. But the story doesn't end there. And now consider the creation of sacred spaces using geometric principles. How can we use geometry to create environments that promote healing and well-being? Geometric ratios and patterns can be used to create spaces that feel harmonious, balanced, and energetically charged. This is why sacred geometry is often incorporated into the design of homes, gardens, and meditation spaces, aligning these environments with natural energy flows. This practice echoes the ancient principles of Feng Shui, which emphasizes the importance of aligning spaces with the Earth's energy currents to promote health, prosperity, and well-being. But we're just scratching the surface of how geometry impacts our spiritual lives. Ultimately, the conscious application of sacred geometry in manifestation reminds us of the interconnectedness of all things. We are all part of a larger geometric pattern, a cosmic dance of shapes and forms. By understanding this interconnectedness, we can consciously create a more harmonious and fulfilling reality, not just for ourselves, but for all beings. But what implications does all of this have in the realm of quantum physics and cosmology? What if the secrets of the universe are encoded in the very fabric of space-time, waiting to be unlocked? That is the question we will explore next, revealing the cutting-edge science that validates the ancient wisdom of sacred geometry. If we can shape our reality on a personal level using geometric principles, does the same hold true for the universe itself? While it may seem far-fetched, sacred geometry and its philosophical claims are beginning to find an unexpected echo in the findings of modern science. Are we, perhaps, on the verge of a scientific revolution that validates the wisdom of the ancients, or are we merely projecting our own patterns onto the cosmos? While sacred geometry was once relegated to the realm of mysticism, concepts emerging from quantum physics and cosmology are starting to reveal a universe that resonates with these ancient ideas. We're not talking about definitive proof, mind you, but rather intriguing points of convergence, especially in areas like quantum entanglement, holographic universe theory, and fractal geometry. The scientific community remains, understandably, skeptical of any direct correlations, yet the parallels are undeniable, raising fundamental questions about the nature of reality itself. What exactly are these points of overlap, and how might they reshape our understanding of the cosmos? It's crucial to define the scope of our exploration. We will be focusing on potential correlations between science and sacred geometry, not definitive proof. The interpretation of these connections is still open to debate, and many scientists would argue that they are mere coincidences. We're not aiming to rewrite textbooks here, but rather to explore fascinating possibilities that emerge when we view the universe through both a scientific and a sacred lens. So, does science validate the ancient claims of sacred geometry, or are these just interesting coincidences, tantalizing hints of a deeper connection? Let us now embark on this journey and see if a correspondence can be found. Let's begin by examining quantum entanglement as a potential parallel to the interconnectedness emphasized in sacred geometry. What is quantum entanglement, and how does it challenge our classical understanding of reality? Quantum entanglement describes a phenomenon where two particles become linked in such a way that they share the same fate, regardless of the distance separating them. Measuring the properties of one particle instantly affects the properties of the other, even if they are light years apart. Think of it like the vesica piscis, two distinct circles, particles, sharing a common space, entanglement, a visual representation of interconnectedness. This challenges our classical notions of locality and separation, suggesting that, at the quantum level, reality is far more interconnected than we previously imagined. Doesn't this mirror the core tenet of sacred geometry that all things are connected, woven together by an unseen web of geometric relationships? Now, let's introduce the holographic universe theory as a framework where reality is projected from a lower dimensional surface, resonating with the idea of underlying geometric forms. How can our 3D universe be encoded on a 2D surface, and what does this imply about the nature of reality? The holographic universe theory proposes that the 3D universe we experience is actually encoded on a 2D surface, much like a hologram. This mind-bending idea suggests that what we perceive as reality is merely a projection of information from a more fundamental level. Consider Metatron's cube, a complex 3D structure derived from simpler 2D geometric patterns. Is it possible that the universe itself operates in a similar fashion? This theory suggests that geometry is fundamental to the structure of reality at its deepest level, a notion that aligns perfectly with the principles of sacred geometry. But how does this relate to the intricate patterns we observe in the natural world? And what about fractal geometry and its relevance to sacred geometry? How do self-similar patterns in nature reflect the underlying geometric principles of the universe? Fractals are self-similar patterns that repeat at different scales, appearing in everything from coastlines and snowflakes to trees and blood vessels. Think of the Mandelbrot set, a famous fractal with infinite complexity generated from a simple equation. These repeating patterns demonstrate that complex forms can arise from simple geometric rules, mirroring the idea that the universe is built upon fundamental geometric principles. This is where the Hermetic principle of as above, so below finds a modern echo. Isn't the fractal nature of reality a visible manifestation of this ancient wisdom, suggesting that the same patterns structure both the microcosm and the macrocosm? So, let us summarize the interconnectedness and geometric nature of reality suggested by these scientific concepts. Quantum entanglement hints at a universe where everything is connected. The holographic universe theory suggests that reality is projected from underlying geometric forms, and fractal geometry reveals self-similar patterns repeating at different scales. Now let us explore some specific examples of how these concepts relate to sacred geometry and consider whether these are simply fascinating coincidences or glimpses into a deeper, more interconnected reality. What patterns will we uncover as we delve deeper into the secrets of the universe? Let's connect quantum entanglement to the concept of universal interconnectedness in sacred geometry. Just as entangled particles are linked regardless of distance, sacred geometry suggests that all things in the universe are fundamentally connected through geometric patterns. Consider the flower of life, a geometric pattern composed of evenly spaced, overlapping circles that is found in various cultures throughout the world. Doesn't this ancient symbol represent the interconnectedness of all things, a visual metaphor for the quantum entanglement that binds the universe together? And what about Bell's theorem and the experimental confirmation of quantum entanglement? Could this be seen as scientific evidence supporting the non-locality implied by the flower of life and other geometric symbols? Now let's show how the holographic universe theory aligns with the idea of underlying geometric forms in sacred geometry. If the universe is indeed a hologram, then reality is projected from a lower dimensional surface encoded with geometric information. Relate this to the Platonic solids, those perfect geometric forms that Plato considered to be the fundamental building blocks of the universe. Could the Platonic solids be the geometric blueprints encoded on this lower dimensional surface, the very foundation upon which our reality is projected? A growing number of studies are beginning to explore the holographic principle in string theory and quantum gravity, lending further credence to this astonishing idea. Are we, in fact, living in a geometrically structured projection? And how do fractal patterns in nature connect to self-similar patterns in sacred geometry? Just as fractals repeat at different scales, mandalas and other geometric symbols often exhibit self-similar patterns. Compare the branching patterns of trees, fractals, to the branching patterns of the tree of life in Kabbalah. Examine images of coastlines, snowflakes, and Romanesco broccoli, each a testament to the fractal nature of reality. Numerous studies have demonstrated the prevalence of fractal geometry in natural phenomena, supporting the idea that these patterns are not merely aesthetic, but fundamental to the structure of the universe. Could the human affinity for mandalas and geometric art be an innate recognition of these underlying fractal patterns, a subconscious connection to the building blocks of reality, let's reinforce our points with additional examples. Consider the EPR paradox as a precursor to entanglement and the implications of the double-slit experiment in revealing quantum behavior. These experiments challenge our classical understanding of cause and effect, suggesting that reality is far more mysterious and interconnected than we previously imagined. What about the work of Nassim Haramein and his theories about black holes? Does that also support these theories? While Haramein's theories are controversial and should not be taken as definitive proof, they offer an intriguing perspective on the geometric structure of the universe, proposing that black holes are not simply destructive forces, but also gateways to other dimensions. Remember that there is no definitive proof of these convergences, of course. Despite these fascinating connections, we must acknowledge the criticisms and limitations of these claims. Many scientists caution against drawing direct parallels between sacred geometry and modern physics, arguing that these are merely interesting coincidences, and that sacred geometry lacks the rigorous scientific methodology to be considered a valid scientific theory. The interpretations we've explored are subjective and open to debate, and there is no guarantee that these connections will hold up under further scrutiny. What we'll discover next, however, is even more shocking, pushing us to look at geometry in a completely different way. Despite these fascinating connections, we must acknowledge the criticisms and limitations of these claims. Many scientists caution against drawing direct parallels between sacred geometry and modern physics, arguing that these are merely interesting coincidences, and that sacred geometry lacks the rigorous scientific methodology to be considered a valid scientific theory. The interpretations we've explored are subjective and open to debate, and there is no guarantee that these connections will hold up under further scrutiny. What we'll discover next, however, is even more shocking, pushing us to look at geometry in a completely different way. But let us now turn to the criticisms and limitations of drawing definitive conclusions based on our current scientific understanding of these sacred and ancient principles. It is essential to emphasize that correlation does not equal causation, and that the connections between sacred geometry and science are largely based on interpretation. Many scientists and skeptics view these connections as coincidental or even pseudoscientific, a result of confirmation bias, where we seek out connections that support our pre-existing beliefs while ignoring evidence to the contrary. Just because we can find geometric patterns in nature and relate them to ancient symbols doesn't automatically validate the claim that these patterns possess some inherent energetic or spiritual power. Consider, for instance, the prevalence of the number 3 in various mythologies and religions. While intriguing, this doesn't prove that the number 3 holds any objective mystical significance. Is it possible that our brains are simply wired to recognize and create patterns, even where none truly exist? Let's consider the limitations of applying quantum entanglement as it relates to consciousness. While the instantaneous connection between entangled particles is mind-boggling, we must acknowledge the limitations in relating this to sacred geometry's claim of universal interconnectedness. There is currently no scientific evidence that entanglement can transmit information faster than light, a concept that often gets conflated with the idea of instantaneous communication between minds or a universal consciousness field. Nor is there any direct evidence that entanglement plays a direct role in consciousness itself. While some researchers are exploring the possibility of quantum processes in the brain, these are still highly speculative theories. Shouldn't we be wary of anthropomorphizing quantum phenomena, attributing spiritual properties to them simply because they defy our classical intuitions? And what about the limits of the holographic universe theory in supporting sacred geometry? While the idea that our 3D universe is projected from a 2D surface is a fascinating concept, it is still largely theoretical and lacks direct experimental confirmation. The theory is primarily used in the context of black holes and string theory, and its application to claims about the energetic or spiritual properties of geometric shapes is tenuous at best. Furthermore, many popular interpretations of the holographic principle are overly simplistic, portraying it as a literal projection like a movie screen, which can lead to fundamental misunderstandings of the underlying physics. It is important to not overstate its potential implications. How do we reconcile this with the concrete, lived reality we experience every day? And finally, what concerns arise when we apply fractal geometry to this discussion? While the visual similarities between fractals and patterns in sacred geometry can be striking, we must be cautious about relying solely on these superficial resemblances. The presence of fractal patterns in nature, such as the branching of trees or the spirals of galaxies, does not automatically validate the spiritual or metaphysical claims associated with sacred geometry. It is important to remember that fractals are mathematical constructs, and their presence in nature may simply be a result of efficient resource utilization or other physical constraints. Is it possible that we are oversimplifying complex phenomena when we apply fractal geometry to claims of universal consciousness or energetic healing? Having explored these crucial caveats, let us now bridge the gap between the quantitative world of science and the qualitative world of ancient wisdom, finding the common ground that unites them. Despite these limitations, we can still find value in exploring the connections between science and sacred geometry. Both approaches offer unique perspectives on the nature of reality, and perhaps they can even complement each other. As we've seen, shared themes of interconnectedness, underlying geometric order, and self-similarity emerge from both scientific inquiry and esoteric traditions. While science and sacred geometry may approach these themes from different perspectives and with different methodologies, the resonances are undeniable. Could it be that these are simply two different languages describing the same underlying reality? Sacred geometry provides a symbolic language and a philosophical framework for understanding the universe. It offers a qualitative insight into the nature of reality, exploring the relationships between geometric forms and their symbolic meanings. It emphasizes the interconnectedness of all things and seeks to find harmony and balance within the cosmos. Think of the flower of life as a map of consciousness, guiding us towards a deeper understanding of ourselves and our place in the universe. Doesn't this framework offer a valuable lens for interpreting the mysteries of existence, even if it doesn't provide empirical proof? On the other hand, modern science provides empirical data and testable theories for studying the universe. It offers quantitative tools for measuring and analyzing the physical world, allowing us to understand the laws that govern its behavior. From quantum physics to cosmology, science has revealed a universe of astonishing complexity and beauty, a universe that is constantly evolving and surprising us with new discoveries. Might it be possible to integrate the insights of sacred geometry with the empirical findings of modern science, creating a more holistic and complete understanding of reality? Perhaps modern science and sacred geometry can be complementary ways of understanding the universe. Science can provide the how, explaining the mechanisms and processes that govern the physical world, while sacred geometry can provide the why, offering a framework for understanding the deeper meaning and purpose behind these phenomena. Isn't it possible that both approaches are necessary for a truly complete understanding of reality, a synthesis of reason and intuition, of the measurable and the mystical? Now, let us turn to some of the practical applications of sacred geometry in the modern world, exploring how we can consciously apply these principles to create a more harmonious and balanced reality. If sacred geometry offers a language for understanding the universe, can we, as conscious creators, learn to speak this language and shape our world with intention? By consciously applying geometric principles in various aspects of our lives, we can create a more harmonious and balanced world, both for ourselves and for future generations. This connects directly to our earlier discussion of manifestation, emphasizing the power of intention and conscious creation. Consider this a call to action, an invitation to experiment with these principles and discover their transformative potential in your own life. But what specific applications can we explore, and how might they reshape our personal and collective realities? Let's consider the use of sacred geometry in design and architecture for creating harmonious living spaces. Geometric ratios and patterns can be used to create spaces that feel balanced, calming, and uplifting. For example, incorporating the golden ratio in the design of furniture or room layouts can create a sense of aesthetic harmony, as the golden ratio is often perceived as naturally pleasing to the eye. Likewise, integrating platonic solids into architectural elements, such as using a dodecahedron as a skylight or an icosahedron as a decorative element, can infuse a space with a sense of sacredness and wonder. By consciously designing our homes and workplaces with these principles in mind, we can create environments that nurture our well-being and inspire our creativity. Couldn't we transform our living spaces into sanctuaries of peace and inspiration? What about the integration of geometric patterns in art for promoting healing and well-being? Mandalas, with their intricate geometric designs and vibrant colors, have long been used as tools for meditation and self-reflection. By focusing on the patterns of a mandala, we can quiet the mind, access deeper states of consciousness, and promote emotional healing. Labyrinths, with their winding paths and central goal, offer another powerful tool for meditation and self-reflection. Walking a labyrinth can be a metaphor for our life's journey, helping us to find clarity, purpose, and inner peace. Might we tap into the healing power of these ancient geometric forms, unlocking inner reservoirs of tranquility and insight? Finally, let's consider the use of geometric principles in urban planning for creating sustainable and resilient communities. Geometric patterns can be used to optimize the flow of energy, resources, and information in cities, creating more efficient and sustainable urban environments. For example, designing cities based on the principles of sacred geometry, such as incorporating circular patterns or radial layouts, can promote a sense of community, reduce traffic congestion, and enhance the overall livability of the city. The concept of sacred geometry informed eco-cities, designed with both ecological and spiritual principles in mind, offers a vision for a more sustainable and harmonious future. How can we use geometric principles to build cities that are not only functional, but also beautiful, inspiring, and life-affirming? So, as we've seen, sacred geometry offers a framework for understanding the universe and a set of tools for creating a more harmonious and balanced world. From designing our homes to planning our cities, we can consciously apply these principles to shape our reality with intention. As we continue our exploration of sacred geometry, let us now draw these threads together and approach the grand conclusion. As we draw together the threads of our journey into the heart of sacred geometry, we find ourselves standing at the threshold of a deeper understanding, acknowledging both the vastness of this ancient wisdom and the profound depth of its implications for our modern world. It has been our core purpose here to provide a foundational understanding, a launchpad from which to better grasp, and perhaps even begin to consciously apply the principles that govern the very fabric of reality. Throughout this exploration, we've seen how seemingly disparate elements converge to reveal a profound interconnectedness between the microcosm and the macrocosm, a geometric order underlying all of existence, and a transformative potential unlocked through the conscious application of these principles. These are not merely abstract concepts confined to dusty tomes and ancient temples. They are living tools for understanding and shaping our reality, whispering in the patterns of nature, resonating in the harmony of art, and echoing in the depths of our own consciousness. The echoes heard from historical accounts, scientific confirmations, and spiritual perspectives all converge on these core themes. Returning to our initial question of whether a hidden code underlies all of reality, We can now affirm that sacred geometry offers a powerful lens through which to perceive this hidden order, revealing the blueprints upon which the universe is built. While our journey here has only scratched the surface of this infinite ocean of knowledge, we trust that we have provided a solid foundation for further exploration, a compass to guide you through the labyrinth of esoteric wisdom, ever mindful that this code is not merely theoretical, but intensely practical, with applications that extend to every facet of our lives. Understanding sacred geometry challenges us to reconsider our understanding of consciousness, inviting us to see ourselves as integral parts of a larger geometric pattern, interconnected with all things through a web of subtle energies and resonant frequencies. It suggests that by consciously aligning ourselves with these geometric principles, we can contribute to a more harmonious and sustainable future for humanity, a future where urban planning, architectural design, and technological innovation are guided by the principles of balance, proportion, and sacredness. The potential is virtually limitless. Through this exploration, we have gained a deeper appreciation for the beauty, elegance, and interconnectedness of the universe, marveling at the intricate patterns that weave through the fabric of reality, from the smallest atom to the largest galaxy. With this understanding, you are now equipped to see the world in a new light, to create spaces that resonate with harmony, and to manifest your intentions with greater clarity and focus. Embrace this knowledge, dear seeker, and allow it to guide you on your path, empowering you to become a conscious co-creator of your own reality. The potential for growth and understanding is limitless, and the journey of discovery continues, beckoning us to delve ever deeper into the mysteries of existence. May this knowledge inspire you to seek out the geometric harmony in all things and to create a more beautiful and balanced world for yourselves and for future generations, consciously weaving these principles into the tapestry of your lives. Sacred geometry is more than just shapes. It's a key to unlocking the secrets of the universe and the potential within ourselves, a bridge between the visible and the invisible, the manifest and the unmanifest. And so it is. If this exploration has resonated with the depths of your being, we invite you to subscribe for more content on sacred geometry, mysticism, and related topics. Share your thoughts, experiences, and insights in the comment section below, for it is through shared exploration that we truly unlock the mysteries of the universe. And if you feel called to support our mission, consider joining our Patreon community, where we delve even deeper into these esoteric subjects. How will you use this knowledge to create a more harmonious world? We have explored the ancient roots, core concepts, scientific connections, and practical applications of sacred geometry, revealing its profound relevance to our lives and our understanding of the universe, reaffirming the timeless wisdom that has guided initiates for centuries. The initial mystery of a hidden code has been illuminated by the insights of sacred geometry, offering a path toward a more interconnected and meaningful existence, now and for all eternity.